There are great villain introductions. And then there is Hans Landa walking into a French farmhouse in 1941. A scene so perfectly constructed that film schools could spend an entire semester on it and still miss half of what Tarantino hid inside it. The genius of this opening scene actually starts before Hans Landa ever arrives. Tarantino doesn't begin by showing the villain. He prepares the audience for him. It begins with a portrait. The quiet French countryside, a lonely farmhouse, a father chopping wood. The wide shots and open air is telling you, this is a grounded, masculine, stable man. Even the way the camera frames him makes him look like someone who could stand against anyone. Wide lenses, lots of space around him, like he's the hero of some rural western. And when he sees the convoy approaching, he doesn't panic. He tells his daughter to go inside. He washes his face. It looks like he's preparing himself for a confrontation, like a hero cleaning his face before a showdown. But the second Landa steps off that car, the movie flips. The father still tries to hold his ground. He greets Landa outside with his hand in his pocket. Tarantino frames the moment so the farmer is slightly higher in the shot, almost like he still has the advantage. But after exactly 7 minutes, literally 7 minutes, and this same man will be crying, broken, terrified. The question is, what happens in those 7 minutes? That's where Tarantino's craft hits another level. You see, Tarantino hates predictable openings. He said it many times. Most directors start their films in a way that already tells you what kind of scene you're watching. He hates that.
A good majority of movies that come out, all right, you pretty much know everything you're going to see in the movie by the first 10 or 20 minutes. Now, that's not a story. A story is something that constantly unfolds.
But honestly, as much as Tarantino shaped this movie, it literally wouldn't even exist without Christoph Waltz. Tarantino even admitted he was close to dropping the whole movie because he couldn't find an actor who could play Hans Landa the way he needed.
The character wouldn't have existed if I had never met Christoph. There would be no King Schultz.
I knew that Colonel Landa was one of the greatest characters I've ever written and one of the greatest characters I will ever write.
Landa, da sind Sie ja! Emmanuel, voici le colonel SS Landa.
He was looking for someone who could switch between German,
Würden Sie bitte in die rechte untere Innentasche.
French,
Les rumeurs qui circulent dans le village au sujet de votre famille sont tout à fait fondées. Monsieur l'a pas dit.
Italian,
Gli amici della vedetta ammirata da tutti noi, questa gemma propria della nostra cultura saranno naturalmente accolti sotto la mia protezione per la durata del loro soggiorno.
and English.
You're sheltering enemies of the state, are you not?
Basically, he needed a real language genius, because the character depends so much on dialogue. If Landa didn't work, the entire movie wouldn't work.
I started casting actors in Germany, and I wasn't finding anybody who quite had everything that I needed 100%. I literally had a moment where I didn't think I was going to find it.
And then he found Christoph Waltz, who at the time wasn't famous at all. He didn't have any major Hollywood movies, and most people didn't even know his name. But during the audition, Waltz immediately showed he understood the character, and Tarantino said that the moment Waltz auditioned, he knew they finally had their Hans Landa.
I remember thinking, we're making a movie.
And with that in mind, this opening scene hits completely different. Because once Landa steps inside the house, the dynamic changes instantly. Once he enters the room, he becomes the gravitational center. The camera subtly repositions so that Landa always occupies the dominant space in the frame, even when he's sitting. Meanwhile, the farmer, who earlier looked like the protagonist, now looks smaller, tighter, and boxed in. This is where the real villain introduction begins. Tarantino positions the table too small for the two men. It forces them into an uncomfortable distance. Tarantino recreates the same uncomfortable distance later in the restaurant scene with Shoshana. Landa always uses physical distance the way a normal villain uses a weapon. The moment they sit, Landa instantly takes ownership of the pace. But here's the detail people miss. Landa speaks in paragraphs, not sentences. Tarantino uses this to show that Landa controls the rhythm of the conversation. The farmer tries to reply quickly, short, functional answers.
Probably not.
Like someone trying to finish the encounter as fast as possible.
It's an interesting thought, Erkönen.
Landa, on the other hand, stretches every topic. This is to study the man's reactions, and Tarantino loves stretching these quiet moments before the chaos.
Now, normally in a situation when you do a movie, you try to make your scenes as compact as possible so there's not air and you don't wear out your welcome with the audience. But under this method, as long as that rubber band can stretch, the longer the scene can hold, the more suspenseful it is. That scene is more suspenseful at 22 minutes than would be at 8. Right. So you want to just stretch it until the rubber band...
One of the most important moments of this scene is when Landa asks to switch to English. He explains it politely, saying his French isn't strong enough for the details he wants to cover. But Landa is switching because he has already sensed that the farmer is hiding someone, and he doesn't want whoever is hiding under the floorboards to understand the rest of the conversation. This is where the farmer starts to realize just how much danger he's in. Tarantino uses the same idea in Django Unchained during the dinner scene. When Calvin Candy realizes he's being lied to, he doesn't explode immediately. Instead, he changes the language of the room. One second he's smiling and joking with everyone, and the next he shifts into that slow, rehearsed speech with the skull in his hand. In both scenes, the villain uses a shift in communication to trap the other person. There's also something about Landa's smile in this moment. A very specific kind of smile. It's the expression of someone confirming a theory he already had. Christoph Waltz plays it like a man who has run this exact scenario hundreds of times. That's why it feels so effortless. You see the same exact smile later in the restaurant scene with Shoshana. And once Landa finally finishes analyzing the farmer, once he's sure without a doubt that someone is hiding under the floorboards, that's when the performance drops. This is the most terrifying version of him in the entire film, because it's the only time he stops pretending to be charming. The farmer breaks immediately. The tears come out the second the mask comes off. Tarantino reveals everything you need to know about Landa in this short stretch of minutes. When Shoshana escapes, Landa walks outside with a serious face and aims his pistol at her. For a moment, Tarantino tricks you into thinking Landa is one of those superhuman villains who never miss. You expect him to shoot her in the back from a distance and drop her effortlessly. But he doesn't fire. Instead, he lowers the gun, smiles, and says, "Au revoir, Shoshana." This tells you two things at once. First, he's not interested in the kill. He's interested in the game. And second, this situation is not rare for him. Catching someone, identifying them, letting them run. It's routine. He trusts his own skills enough to know he could find her again whenever he wants. He doesn't even bother sending his men after her. That's how casual he is with the hunt. In just one scene, Tarantino shows you every layer of Hans Landa. This movie also changed Christoph Waltz's career. After playing Hans Landa, everything opened up for him. He got major roles, worked with Tarantino again in Django Unchained, and even joined big movies like Spectre and Alita. This one performance is what launched his whole Hollywood career. If you enjoy movie breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel.